go somewhere only we know.
Alright, welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew, and in today's video, we're going to talk about seed starting. Specifically, seed starting, I'm talking about aiming this video at people who maybe haven't started any seeds before, and this might be your first time that you're interested in starting from seed and growing some food in your own garden. So in this video, I want to give a quick seed starting 101 crash course on how to start your own seeds and not make some mistakes that might set you back and frustrate you when you're trying to get some food grown in the garden. So stick around and I'll give you a few tips in this video on how you can grow the best seed starts this year. So the first tip that I want to give all of you in this video is one that I have made yet again this year that I did last year, and that is getting too impatient and starting your seeds way too early. We're still in early, the first 2 weeks of April, and in my zone here, I think my zone is 6B here in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, and it's still a little bit too cold for a lot of stuff that I started a month ago. We had a stretch of really nice warm weather, and it was like a tease that spring was going to be here, and then we got smacked with a bunch of cold weather again. And when seeds that you put in the seed tray stay in those seed trays for too long, stuff starts to happen. The seeds might rot. Bad things can happen. There could be some fungal issues with your seed starting mix from just being wet for so long and staying in those trays. And sometimes it's just better to wait until the weather has warmed up to start your seeds. And I started my tomatoes and peppers a couple of weeks ago too early. I should have waited, and I'm actually going to be restarting a lot of those pepper and tomato seeds in this video to demonstrate. And I'm also going to be demonstrating to you how, if this is your first time, you probably don't have any seed starting equipment, and I'm going to show you, for one reason I'm going to show you is that you don't need any special trays or anything like that to start your own seeds. You can grow food in a recycled egg carton like this. Just poke some holes in the bottom, and I'm going to do that. These are lids from a rotisserie chicken that we got at the grocery store. This is a lid from it. It already has holes in the bottom for drainage. The drainage is important. You don't want to use a tub of something that doesn't have holes in it, because that's not good. You need the water. The water needs to go out somewhere. So I'll use this for starting some more tomato seeds, because like I said, I started some stuff too early and haven't got any germination yet. Getting a little nervous. So we're going to start again. Don't start your seeds too early like I did. Be patient, wait till the weather warms up, and then you'll have really good success. It's not to say that you can't start your seeds a little bit earlier than like your last frost date. What I've been doing is I'm out here in this is a greenhouse, but it's an unheated greenhouse. And at nighttime, the temperatures go down close to it. We've been above freezing, but it's still going down close to freezing every night. And that fluctuation in temperature is just not helping the seed starts, the seedlings much. So if you only had a few trays, you could probably start them inside your house, maybe in a windowsill, or like if you have a big bay window, something like that. You could probably get away with starting your seeds a few weeks earlier. But for my situation here, we actually live in a tiny house, and I don't have room to put all these seed trays in our house. So they're out in our unheated greenhouse, and I've just got to deal with the weather and do the best I can. Now, another tip that's really important for starting your own seeds is getting a really good seed starting mix. This year, I was brave and decided to try and create my own seed starting mix, and I actually did a video on that. I'll put it up in one of these corners that you could check out if you're interested in trying that yourself. But if you're a first-time gardener and just want to get some seeds started, I wouldn't recommend trying to do that, because I'm starting seeds on a lot larger scale. We have a market garden here, still a small market garden, but still I'm starting a lot of seed trays. In fact, I'm out I don't have any extra seed trays, which is why I'm demonstrating in this video how you could use things like egg cartons to start more seeds, because I don't have any more seed trays to plant things in. So, but anyway, a really important thing is getting a good seed starting mix. And a good seed starting mix is light and fluffy. They're all basically have the same kind of ingredients. If you look at the back of a seed starting mix bag, a lot of that will have peat moss and perlite. Those are like two main ingredients that you're going to get in a lot of those. Some of them might use coconut core. That's the coconut husk byproduct of the coconut. They both do the same thing, the perlite and the coconut. I'll show you what if the camera can focus. This is what my seed starting mix looks like. It's very light and fluffy. You don't want a really compact seed starting mix because you want the seed just to germinate, and it's gonna have a harder time germinating in soil that's hard and compact. So you wouldn't want to go into your backyard and just get some of that thick clay soil that might be beneath the grass in your backyard. Stuff might grow, but it's going to have a hard time growing in that kind of medium. So you want them to start in a loose and fluffy seed starting mix. And basically anything that you find at your like local Tractor Supply or Home Depot, Lowe's, they're going to have good stuff. You probably want to try to get something that says organic, an organic seed start mix. Last year I used something called Pro Mix. It was a big bag of, it was a compressed bale of seed starting mix. It wasn't that expensive. It was only like $12 or $13. And for someone that's only growing a couple trays of seeds or something like that, that bag might last you a year or two or longer if you keep it in good shape. So that's something that you might want to look into. You could look up Pro Mix online at Lowe's or something like that and see if they have it in stock near you. Alright, so first I'm just going to use this little lid like I was just explaining that I got from Rotisserie Chicken. I'm going to fill it with soil. Okay. Doesn't have to be crazy deep. There you go. Fill it with soil. I actually like to wet it before I put seeds on there. Helps the seeds kind of stick to the soil a little bit better, and I like that. So now I've got a wet soil. The water will drain out those holes on the bottom. And what I'm going to be planting here is San Marzano Roma tomatoes. I really like these. These are awesome for salsas and making sauces. They're an Italian heirloom for a reason. People save the seed for a reason. It's really, really cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a little line here. I'm going to make 3 little lines with my fingers, and I'm just going to drop a whole bunch of seeds in there, like so. As these start to grow and get pretty big, we will just reach in there, and tomato stems, you don't want to be like really rough with them, but they're actually pretty tough seedlings compared to other seedlings I've dealt with. Like lettuces have really flimsy stems, but the tomatoes are pretty hardy even from their baby seedling stage. So you can plant a whole bunch of these in a pot or a bowl like this, and then separate them when they get big enough. And when they get a little bit bigger, you're going to want to put them in a bigger pot. People call that up-potting, putting them in a bigger pot so the roots can grow a little bit bigger, obviously. I am just sprinkling. I'm not sure how many seeds I grabbed here, but I am just putting them all in there. These are actually seeds that I saved. These seeds, I bought the seed packet once of Romas, but I've been saving them. It's really easy to save seeds of tomatoes. I actually haven't done a video on saving tomato seeds, but I probably will later in this growing season because it's really easy and good thing to know how to do. So I've just sprinkled, I sprinkled some seeds in here, and I'm just going to, I have in the past just grabbed a bunch of the potting soil and sprinkle it on top. If you do that, you want to be careful not to bury them too deep. They only need to be about like a quarter of an inch beneath the soil. But I'm not even going to do that. I am just going to grab some perlite. This is perlite. It's I believe it's a volcanic rock. This helps aerate the soil. It helps water drain. Doesn't really help with holding the moisture, but that's what the peat moss does. So this stuff, the perlite, I can just sprinkle this right on top of the seeds. It's really, really light. The perlite is super light, so it's not like these little rocks are going to weigh down the seed and not let the seedling come to the surface. It will be able to push through because it's a really lightweight rock. And I have found in my last few rounds of seed trays that just instead of putting a little bit of soil on top of those seeds, if I just cover it with perlite, there's another material called vermiculite. I found the vermiculite's a little bit more expensive than perlite, so I've been buying perlite. But vermiculite actually holds on to moisture, whereas the perlite doesn't really do that. But when I've done this, I've gotten much better germination than when I've just covered it with soil. So just something to consider, something I've just learned recently. I'm going to put a little bit more perlite on top. I'm just going to cover it in this stuff. Not going to hurt anything. And now I've got a tub. I maybe had like 30 seeds in my hand there. So hopefully in a few weeks we'll start to see some growth here on this tray of Roma tomatoes. And I'll have some fresh tomatoes to make salsa with. And I can't wait. Alright, now if you thought that, or don't like the idea of putting all your seeds, sprinkling them like that in a bowl like I just did, you could use something like this egg carton. And like I said, I actually poked little holes in the bottom of each little cell here. So in this egg carton, I'm going to fill it up. You've got 12 little cells here, so this is like a 12 cell tray. And this would be good because you could just put one seed for each cell, so it'll be a lot simpler to transplant. You won't have to separate everything. You'll just have to take out one plant at a time when you're ready to plant or up pot your stuff. So for a cell like this, we can do some other kinds of tomatoes. I have a nice, it's cool collecting seeds. I used to collect like Pokemon cards and stuff like that. Seed packets are like the new Pokemon cards. This is cool. This is a Cherokee Purple beefsteak kind of tomato. I think this is the best tasting tomato I've ever had. Don't know why. This is an heirloom from, tells you on the back, pre-1890 Cherokee Indian heirloom. It's got a purple kind of color. It's got a really dark, deep, dark flavor. Hard to describe. Really good. So we could do some different kinds of tomatoes in here. And we'll have to label it. You want to make sure that you're writing what you're planting or putting some kind of tag there so you remember. Another one's a Brandywine. These are considered heirlooms because you can save these seeds. These seeds have been saved for over 100 years, some of them, some of them longer. And they're saved for a reason because they're really good. Brandywine's just a big, juicy red tomato. There's another big tomato. Here's one called the Striped German. I believe this is like a yellow orange colored tomato. Never grew this before. So we'll have a red, purple, and yellow colored tomato. Maybe I'll try some other ones. I'm gonna wet it first. Don't want to saturate it. I do like it to be wet and moist. All right, there we go. Everything's ready. And the last one I'm going to plant is called the Giant Crimson Tomato. This is one that Luke from the M.I. Gardener channel was able to germinate from a seed packet from like 1929, and it was an extinct variety of tomato. He sold some of these, but he only put 5 seeds in each packet. I already put 4 of those seeds in my first tray, and none of them have germinated yet. I think I just started them way too soon. Luckily, I was smart enough to save 1 more seed. So this is my last giant crimson tomato seed. And hopefully this will germinate in this tray, because it's the last one I have left. And if this germinates, obviously I'm going to save all the seeds from that for future years. All right. And again, I am just going to cover these with perlite, and obviously I'm going to have to write down what I planted so I don't forget. I wrote them on the inside here of this flap of the egg carton. And then we're good. Alright, so here's what those 2 trays look like, covered in the perlite. I think they look pretty cool. Alright, so if you try this for your first year, if this is your first year of, sorry about the wind, can't help that. If this is your first year starting seeds and you try this and you really enjoy the gardening thing, you might want to look into finding some seed trays that will last you for the long term. I have some trays here. This is from the Bootstrap Farmer. Bootstrap Farmer is a website that sells seed trays, seeds, a whole bunch of gardening greenhouse supplies. This is a 200 cell tray that last year I used all of these 200 cell trays for my lettuce transplants. And these work out pretty good. I have like perfect germination on here. It's plastic. This one's actually broke. It's broke on the end. But most of the trays have held up pretty good. These are going to be like a step up from those cheap trays, seed trays that you might find at the dollar store. They're more expensive, obviously, but I think they're worth it. I don't know. I really like these trays. Other trays that I've used are, I just got these this year. This tray is from Neversink Farm. These are called a wind strip tray. This has 128 cells in it. And these kind of mimic what a soil block does. I'll explain what a soil block is in a minute here, but a soil block basically is a block of soil that it air prunes the roots of the seedlings so that the plant grows really, really super healthy root structures. So while this is still a cell tray, it has slits in the side that allow the roots to hit the air, and the roots end up not circling. You'll find that in some cell trays like these, if they stay in the tray too long, you'll have real circling of the roots, and when you transplant that plant in the ground, you'll find that it takes a while for the plant to start growing as it remembers that it's trying to grow down into the soil. Trays like these wind strip trays will allow your plant, when you transplant it, to just take off and be really, really healthy plants. Soil blocks, I'll bring you over to see a soil block. Here I have 2 trays of soil blocks. They are what they sound like. They are blocks of soil. And here is a Swiss chard growing in these soil blocks. They take some time to make. They're not as quick as filling up a seed tray, but these, I think a lot of longtime gardeners will tell you that these grow the healthiest plants. So if you're only growing a few plants, seed starts in your backyard, maybe a soil blocker is something to consider. This is a soil blocker. This one makes 2-inch soil blocks. This is what I used to create these soil blocks in these trays. That might be something you want to look into. That soil blocker only costs about like $27, $28, I think, last time when I bought it. So it's a one-time purchase, and then you wouldn't really need to buy all these seed trays. I mean, you will need to put them in some kind of tray, but you could even make the trays out of wood or some kind of scrap wood that you have in your backyard. It doesn't need to be a plastic. Actually, I would recommend not using plastic because these break from the weight of all this soil. But soil blocks, I think, are by far the superior way to start seeds. Now, if you have stuck around to the end, thank you, appreciate it. In the links, I have links below in the description box of this video with links to a lot of the soil amendments and things that I use for my soil mix and other tools like the soil blocker you'll find in the description box below. So if you're interested in looking at some of these tools for your garden this year, you could check that out in the links below. Like I said, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching my little seed starting tutorial. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. I would appreciate it. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.